Soul Garden. Live, love, be.
Good morning from my smartphone to yours. I'm casting love from the stepº2 Garden Studios in Costa Mesa, California. And it's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Good morning and Namaste, and welcome to Namaste today. I'm your host and spiritual life coach, stepº2. My modality is psychic astrology, and my mission is to stand in my heart and help other people into theirs. This webisode is for Friday. Thank God it's Friday, and it is Friday, January 22nd, 2016. And today, the Great Human Walk will progress to Step 2, Aquarius. Now, I just have to say, Step 2 is I feel, and Aquarius is I belong. And this is kind of like electricity and water. I'm predicting that it's going to be an electric day. In fact, let's just get to today's vibe. Cloudy chance of shock today. That's because emotions are meeting innovation, and most people in my experience are not really aware of where they belong. Even people like myself who pray and pray, God, where do I belong? Try to be aware, try to be conscious, try to be a world leader. When I actually find out where I belong, I'm like, huh? Okay, like it still shocks me. And that just, I think, has to do with the fact that humans are not aware of our Aquarius energy. We're not aware of our law of attraction part of our nature. And so because feelings rule the day today, you are in for a shock. I think everyone's in for a shock somewhere. This can be as small of a shock as rubbing your socks on the carpet and touching the doorknob, okay? And as big of a shock as Bruce Jenner, okay? Like, it can go from any scale that you want, depending on how much of denial you are in. And this really brings the whole concept of where we belong and belong conscious and what we talk about today. So be in for a surprise and expect the unexpected. That's what I like to say in days like this. So let's go through the states of awareness. I love how I feel. That's basically the I love state of awareness. Your heart is asking if you love or not how you feel today. And usually when my heart asks if it loves how it feels, it's already a no, because my heart knows when it feels good. Okay, so my heart usually knows when it feels good. It doesn't usually know when something's weird. And so there's that apprehension of kind of feeling out. How do we feel? Pure emotion. The moon is in Cancer, so we feel pure emotion today through early tomorrow morning. And so whatever you are feeling is everything that's you, okay? You might be picking up people around you, but the moon now is in the mid-degrees of Cancer, so that means that we're now pretty much picking up on us and what we have manifesting. What are you receiving today and through the weekend? The promised land. You are receiving the promised land. Venus is at step 28 Sagittarius. So we feel and we are deciding what we believe in at the highest level. And 28 is we are drinking the Kool-Aid. Well, Venus says we're drinking, we're accepting. So we are drinking the Kool-Aid. That means we're having to commit, and we feel and we're ready to receive that commitment. Now, Mercury is retrograde, and what's interesting, I'll show this in the Zenden, is today Mercury hits Pluto. And that means that today we rethink that a control issue has finally died in us. So I think we're going to realize that a control issue in us has finally died. And this might be a mental control issue, and this might be that someone has mentally controlled you. But by the way, if someone mentally controls you, that means you mentally let someone control you, so you have a control issue with controlling yourself, right? So it doesn't matter what it is. It's always about you in creation. There's no blame here. We just want to know where the problem begins so we can get to the root of it and pull it out. It always begins with ourselves. So what do I act and I am? I am the new container. I am the new boundary. I am the new limit. So Mars is at step 10 Scorpio. That means that we feel that we have it contained. We're ready to contain it. We're ready to contain this. What's this? Whatever you're working on. But mostly it's how you feel about it. But we're not quite sure. All we've decided is we love and believe in where we belong. The only problem is we don't know where the hell we belong. Okay? Wonka. Typical human being. So, your joy question, you choose to accept it today and really through the weekend, and I'll talk about this when we get into Zenden, is to use your feelings as a karmic thermometer. Okay? Use your feelings as a karmic thermometer. Don't get on board this ride too much, okay? Don't allow yourself to get too affected by things that you feel today and through the weekend, because you're just up for a crazier ride. Emotions right now are trying to feel in the dark, where do I belong? Where do I not belong? It's a feeling thing, it's not a thinking thing. And again, depending on how out of touch you've been with your heart, you may be up for a huge surprise. Whether that surprise is that it's completely something you didn't think, or the surprise is, oh my gosh, it was exactly what I think. Wow, I was exactly right. Either way, it's sometimes a surprise. Now, I bring all this up, and we'll talk about this in Zen, but we're up for a big shock between now and Sunday. We get to step 4 on Sunday. Anywhere between step 2 and step 4, breakdown and breakthrough for you to realize where you truly belong. So let's move on to giving you a little bit of help through that breakdown breakthrough and move on to today's topic. Today's topic is feeling out belonging, the art of hitchhiking dimensions. And that's what belonging is. Belonging, technically, is the dimension that we choose to live on. And I would argue that that there's a spectrum of dimensions that human beings can see and live on, and there's a spectrum that we cannot see and that we cannot immediately experience or live on, maybe immediately. Just like our eyes can see a spectrum of light, but we can't see infrared, we can't see other parts of light, and our ears can't see around certain levels of decibels, right? So I think in belonging, it's the same thing. Human beings can only belong to a certain spectrum right now, and that's their understanding of belonging. And partly that's because we don't understand the belonging spectrum at large. I believe, however, in my study of metaphysics, that once you understand Aquarius belonging, I believe you can then go from any dimension you want. So it's my belief that when you master Aquarius, you can hop around to other universes and galaxies, and that's literally why the human race has not come into ET contact, in my opinion, yet, like formally, is because we're not really in our power of belonging. We don't know our place in the universe, and I think until we know our place, we can't participate, which is really wise. I mean, like, don't let those kids play until they know who they are. So, let me give you some tips that I've learned, but let's start with the 5 o'clock question because it really opens up the spectrum of Aquarius and belonging. And we're talking about consciousness here. Consciousness, the consciousness of feeling like you belong somewhere. So let me ask you this. Did you ever feel you belong somewhere, but society said you're not ready or you're not enough? Did you ever feel like you belong somewhere, but society said you're not ready or you're not enough? And secondly, if and when that happened, how did you respond? Because response is everything in the art of belonging. And I'll talk about that later, but its response is very important. So first I'll answer the question to kick off the whole topic. Did I ever feel I belonged somewhere and society said I was not ready? The most prominent example I had was USC Film School. I was trying to get into USC Film School. I had a 4-point average for over 3 years. I had 14 letters of recommendation. And USC said, no, you don't belong here. And I was just so pissed. And I was very determined to go there anyways. And I actually spent a year at USC, kind of like taking all the film courses I could without officially being in their program. And long story short, how did I respond? My heart knew I belonged there. I buckled down. I worked even harder. That's how I responded. Now, in hindsight, after I was there for a year, by the way I was treated by University of Southern California, by the way the students' attitude was, by how much money I was having to borrow from the government to go there, after a year of being there, I actually concluded that I had aimed falsely, that USC Film School is not the end-all and be-all, and that I did not, in fact, belong there. So I fought like hell and found out I later changed my heart. I was like, I don't belong here. And the truth is that was a lesson of perception. I had fallen for the perception of USC Film School, and I was young. I didn't really understand what a quality education was, and especially a quality film education. Long story short, I went to 3 film schools and was never really satisfied. Just dropped out, started doing internet stuff, okay? So, long story short, after 5 years of college, I was like, I just have to teach myself. The point is that belonging, the consciousness of a belonging, it's like, I belong here, I belong there, okay? Well, it's actually a very sophisticated awareness. It's not that simple. We're talking about dimensions. We're talking about frequencies. So, do I belong at USC, or do I belong at this prestigious film school? Do I belong at USC? The truth is I belong in a great film school. Whether or not that's USC is another question. Okay, like that was where the screw up was in my consciousness. But really, I want to impart to you that between now and Sunday, there's likely going to be some hallelujah moment where you have a breakthrough. Breakthrough. Could even be as far as Monday that this happens. Okay? And this will all be based on, oops, looks like we have a very loud private helicopter coming through. But I'm just going to continue with it. Because that's real TV, folks. That's real TV. So, long story short, belonging is a complicated consciousness. So complicated that for this weekend, I let that airplane, that thing go and stop. And I want to let you know that when you're feeling out belonging, which is what's going to happen this weekend, you might have a breakdown and breakthrough. The breakdown and breakthrough is I thought I belonged at USC and I didn't. Okay, so you'll feel you might have belonged somewhere, you'll realize that you did or didn't, or you may feel you belong somewhere and you realize you did. I mean, it's either way, it's always this like kind of like pitch alley up, we'll see, and then we find out. Like you don't know ahead of time, and that's the thing about belonging consciousness. You have to arrive at the destination. You have to become what it is you want to arrive at, and until you become it, until you arrive, you're not 100% certain that you belong it. So I belong consciousness is sophisticated, age of Aquarius consciousness. If you're not ready to get in this game, don't. Okay, like I think only proficients and masters should get in. But the truth is everyone is in by law of attraction. So here are three areas or three dimensions to look out for of belonging. The first is step 4, I belong. And that's really, am I in the right place or not? Does this feel right or not? Very basic. So in the next 4 days, really, the universe is asking you to figure out, do you belong just in a generic, in this town, in this century, in this dimension? Okay? And that is, are you happy? Is your heart glowing? If the answer is no, something's off. Okay? Something's off. Then the next dimension is step 13. And that is that you feel and belong here, and you believe you belong here too. You don't just feel it, but you also believe it. Okay? And then there's step 22, belonging. That's master belonging. And that is, I feel I belong, and they feel I belong too. So 22 is where other people are also saying, yeah, you're one of us. Right? Either way, when you feel like you belong somewhere, this is what I want you to know. You may feel like you belong for the 22, but you may not be ready. You may feel you belong at the 13, but you may not be ready. You may feel you belong at the 4, and then you realize you're ready to get started. And what I want you to know through this belonging of the weekend is, if you don't want to make major mistakes where you find yourself at the wrong film school, then be open to belonging as being maybe on one dimension or another, and we have to kind of like feel it out to see. All right, my friends, let's now move on to our Zen Den. And welcome to the Zen Den. So as we start our weekend, I think it's super important when it comes to belonging and connecting to connect to yourself. You gotta listen, have conversation with yourself. And I recommend that not only do you take 3 breaths, but you ask your heart, in each, at the end of those breaths, like, hey heart, what do you want today? Where do we belong? The more time you ask and the more temperature reads you get with your karmic thermometer, the more you'll know what dimension you belong on now. So let's take 3 breaths. All right, and I have a little affirmation for you. And I believe it's very close to the one I already gave you because it's kind of the affirmation you can say to yourself all weekend long to be clear, all right, and to be open. And it is as follows. I feel my heart today, and I fully accept and receive where I belong. I feel my heart today, and I fully accept and receive where I belong. So it's super simple. I'm mindful of where my heart is, and I'm open. Now, here's what's key. When you find out where you belong, I'm open and ready to receive it, but I'm not going to react. I'm not going to do anything crazy. We're just getting a karmic temperature reading here. It's like, oh, wow, you belong in Hollywood. You belong here. You belong there. You belong on top. Does it mean we're ready? Does it mean we have to be ready? Does it mean we have to run? No. We're just getting a karmic thermometer temperature read here of where we believe we belong. So one more time to keep it in the mind. I feel my heart today, and I accept and receive where I belong. And so it is, because I said so, I thought so. So let's turn on our overhead projector and take a look at the planets. And so I asked the universe, hey, what do you want me to talk about? And the universe said, Uranus. And I'm like, really? We just went over this. And I actually went to double check, like, this isn't just my creative mind being creative and theming it all together. It's like, no, we get a strong Uranus here. Okay. And Uranus is funny, too. So first of all, let's start with the sun. The sun is at step 2, Aquarius. That is, I feel. Okay. Saturday, it will be step 3, I believe. No, I mean, it's I believe. And then on Sunday, we get to I belong, step 4. All right? And the cool part about this whole thing is the moon will also get full at the very same time. So by Sunday, we already identify or have to identify the quantum where we belong or don't belong. And the moon will have progressed into Leo by that time and will be full. Now this opposition is a tug of war. And in essence, as soon as you discover where you belong or don't belong, you're ready to discard everything else. And this is what it feels like on the cold hand of an Aquarius after you have sex with them. I'm just kidding. But they have this cold hand of like, talk to the hand. Cat fair on the dresser. Once an Aquarius decides they don't belong with you, it's over. And it's very cold. You're like, wow, how can they be that way? Well, the truth is they're designed to cut and run. Cutting meaning cutting away from the wrong frequency and letting themselves vibrate to the right frequency. For people caught in the into the what do they call those, collateral damage of that? You know what I mean? You just have to nurture and go on. It's kind of a rude awakening. So this weekend, when people come into the truth of where they belong, you're feeling it. You start to believe in it or not on Saturday, and then ding 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 ding, Lotto 4. You will understand on Sunday, hey, okay, I do belong here, I don't belong here. Notice where belonging is based on in life. It's only based on what we protect, step 0, what we love, step 1, what we feel, step 2, what we believe, step 3, and where we belong. So that's how consciousness works. It's all dependent on the consciousness underneath it. And so our belonging is based on these simple things. We will know very quickly where things belong. Everything else either grows correctly or grows different or grows incorrectly. And a lot of people make critical errors in their lives because they insist on making it go the direction their ego wants it to go, their mind wants it to go, but not where they belong, not where their heart is truly attracted by law of attraction. So this is dynamic. Now here's really cool too. Saturn is at step 13. 13 adds to a 4. So notice how Saturn in Sag is, at the end of the day, vibrating to a step 4. That means our belief structure is ready to go and drink the Kool-Aid or not drink the Kool-Aid. And that's very much, about whether or not our heart, which is the sun, agrees with all of this. So, people may be swaying back and forth inside about what they believe or what they don't believe this weekend. And a lot of it is dependent on whether your heart truly agrees that you belong there. If you believe you belong in that top film school, then you will believe everything, right? So everything, a lot of our entire belief in ourselves or entire belief period is caught up in this decision of if you belong here or you belong here. Now let me remind you all as clients, because I regard each and every viewer as a client, you're in creation. If your heart believes you belong somewhere, it's because you're willing to create to do it. All right? It has nothing to do with society, okay? Even though I was rejected by society officially with USC, it was a real lesson for me, in the sense of I don't think society should decide where my heart belongs, but I also think my heart should be deciding too In a way, I was letting society decide me, and so, and I was letting myself be, judged by society. So when it comes to belonging, it's like your heart believes it, your heart can get there because you know you can, because you are creating it. It's not because the world says it isn't, and belief should be based on if your heart has the juice to go the race. That's what belief should be based on. Now, just to throw in my whole, my whole theory on step astrology, look at this. Jupiter and the North Node, both at step 22, which adds to a 4. Again, the North Node too. So basically, this is the dimension shift. And I believe that many people will go through a dimensional shift this weekend because once you understand that you belong somewhere else, you so let go of everything and you see everything just blur around you. Because it's Aquarius, everything blurs around you. I mean, it is like twinkle, you wake up, you feel like, Dorothy is not in Kansas anymore. And you just got to go through the experience to understand. The very last thing I want to point out before I go is Mars at step 10 Scorpio. Now, step 10 is we are manifesting. This is what I called the container. Basically, 10 is the container of which where our boundaries are. If you're uncertain as to how things are supposed to turn out, one thing you are certain as is where they should not turn out. So focus on your absolute no's, like I know it won't be this and I know I'll say no to that. And then be open to what fits within that if you're uncertain. Okay? Guess my guide's anything else. Oh my goodness, I can't let this go even though we're already at 7 minutes. I love you guys. Mercury! Mercury and Pluto are conjuncting at step 15 today. Now 15 is I think, okay? And Pluto is basically I protect, which means death. So with the belonging, basically today is the day that we're getting the real feel of whether we belong or not. The reality check comes by Sunday, but today we're already starting to feel. It ain't going to be that big of a surprise. Right? Well, today, something dies because Mercury is on Pluto. So expect something to die today. Look for something to die. An old idea, an old concept, an old way of control. If something ain't dying today that's old, you haven't made the dimensional shift yet. Just saying. All right, my friends. That's good for now. Let's turn this off. Have a fantastic weekend. I do want to say for those who are watching over my personal Sensei service, each day at noon, your personal Sensei is going into what I call your Bizarro self. And your Bizarro self is the innovator in you, is the one that wants to make this jump. So in the first few days, we're going to be talking about the part of this personality. But by Sunday, I'll be coaching you on what I kind of think might be where you're jumping for and giving you as much help as I can. Everyone, come on down to my website, soulguard.tv, and become a part of our community. You can leave a comment, you can enter our chat room, and you can find out about my readings and how to subscribe for my personal Sensei service, which you can try for 7 days for just 99 cents. Otherwise, I'll see you back on Monday. Have a fabulous weekend. Remember, I love you, and live, love, be.
SoulGarden.tv.
Once again, I will say to you that we can zoom in a little tighter on this. You with me, Jeeves? Okay. Just saying.